Okay, so deer hunting has recently became an important part of my life, and that started my freshman year of high school, so 2012. This picture is a picture of the very first deer I ever killed, and it is actually a 7-point doe, which is really rare for Linn County, but it's still fun. And then these three are the last deer I killed in 2016, and it's an actual buck, and his antlers are up there on the wall. Um, both stories are kind of around the same. I went deer hunting with my stepdad, and I kept falling asleep. So every time he woke me up, both these deers were there, and I shot them. And then on my doe, when we went to go gut it, my cousin asked me if I shot it in the balls because there was no balls. And I said no, and that's how I figured out it was actually a doe. Okay. So, preparation for deer hunting involves location, equipment, and then everything that leads up to opening day of deer season. So for location, you want to make sure you're outside of city limits because it's illegal to hunt inside of city limits. You want to make sure you're in a spot where the deer cross frequently or they're always hanging around. That way you know you're going to see at least one deer. You want to make sure your stand is either in the trees where there's lots of deer or in a field, but also make sure it's near food supply because they hang out near food. And this is just a picture that I took from my deer stand in a field, so you can kind of tell where I hunt. And then equipment, you want to make sure you have hunting tags and your license. So this is a picture of my tag that I didn't fill out. And then when you go to fill it out, you write your name, your confirmation number that you'll get when you call it in. And then up here is the days. So you mark off what day it was. And on the side over here, it's not pictured, but it's actually months. And you mark off which month it was. Then it has all of your information on it. And make sure you have a gun, obviously. Have your ammunition for your gun and make sure you're wearing appropriate clothing. So if you're in an actual stand, jeans is fine with a camouflage shirt, long sleeve, or a coat. Always have an orange vest and an orange hat on. If it's cold, use gloves. If you're outside, then you want to make sure you're wearing like bibs and make sure those are either dark colors or overall or camouflage. Make sure you have a gutting knife because you don't want to kill something and then not have a way to gut it to get it home. And then anything else you might need like snacks, water, other drinks, hand warmers, anything like that. And then leading up to the opening day, you want to make sure you have permission from the landowner if you do not own the land you're going to hunt on. Then you want to go out to that piece of land before opening day and pick out where you're going to put your stand. Then make sure all your equipment is in the same spot, either in the truck or right beside the door, so you don't forget it. And make sure you set alarm clocks so you wake up early enough. And then the hunting process involves leaving early, watching for deer, checking the deer, and then shooting. So leaving early, you want to make sure you're up, dressed, and ready to go before sunrise, which involves brushing your teeth, putting on your clothes. Do not put on anything that's fragranted, so like no scented deodorant or cologne or perfume. Then you want to make sure you're at your stand before the first crack of sunlight, so you get there early enough when the deer get up and start ready to move. And you don't want to use white lights because deer can see those, so use red lights if you can, or if you need them. And you want to make sure you're quiet because they can hear really good. And then when you're actually hunting, you need to make sure you stay awake. Don't fall asleep like I do. use binoculars to see at a long distance to watch for the deer up there. Watch your surrounding areas because deer will come by your stand whether you're awake or not. And then listen for the movements of all the animals and gunshots. If you hear a gunshot in an area where there's more than just you hunting, then look in that direction of the gunshot and see if there's a deer or any other animal coming across your path. And if there is a deer and it's not shot, then it's fair game. Checking to see if they're big enough. Use your binoculars or the scope on your gun if you have one to look at the deer from the distance and make sure that it has enough points and it's wide enough and the body is big enough for you to shoot it. Everybody has a different preference on points and how wide they want the antlers, so it just kind of depends. But make sure your gun's loaded and ready to go. You don't want to see one that you're going to shoot and not have your gun ready, because then it just takes longer and you probably won't get the deer. If you're hunting a buck, make sure there are more than 2 points. It used to be illegal to shoot a deer that only had 2 points, but I think that's not illegal anymore. But no one wants a 2-point buck on their wall. And then if you're hunting a doe, just make sure the body's big enough and there's no white spots, because if there's white spots, then it's a baby. Shooting the deer, you want to make sure you have the gun pointed at the deer and not anything else. And you want to make sure your crosshairs are on the deer. If it's broadside, so like the body is sideways, you want to put it on the shoulder or behind the shoulder. Make sure you're stabilized. If you're shaky and you shoot, the gun will come back and the scope will hit you in the face and it will hurt. Breathe. Breathing is important. It helps stabilize. Take the gun off safety and breathe again so you're getting all of the nervousness and anxiousness out of you. Slowly pull the trigger. If you pull it too fast, the gun will come back and hit you. And then reload and shoot if necessary. If you miss it, just shoot again. If you keep missing it, then you probably need to go back and breathe and then try again. Whoops. So everything after shooting the deer involves tracking it, tagging it, reporting it, gutting it, and then what to do with the meat. So tracking the deer, you want to watch where the deer goes after you shoot it. So once you shoot it and it starts running, put that in your memory like a landmark of where it's running to. And then once you get out of your stand after you've waited about half an hour, then you need to go to that landmark or the spot where you shot the deer if you remember it and look for blood. And the blood will either be on the ground or a tree or leaves nearby. And then follow the blood trail until you find the deer. If you find it and it's still alive, kill it as humanely as possible. So if I found one that was still alive that I shot, I would just shoot it again. But some people prefer like getting their gutting knife out and just cutting the neck. And then if you find it dead, just go ahead and tag it, fill out your tag, and then call it in or report it on your app. So, tagging and reporting. Fill out the hunting tag, like I explained when we came up to the hunting tag earlier. Place it in a Ziploc bag and then put the Ziploc bag either on the antlers and secure it with a string or a wire, or cut a little hole back here in the heel and then tie the Ziploc bag through that. Call the conservation agency and report it. You can do that and just give them your hunter tag number. Or you could use the Missouri Hunting and Fishing app, which looks like this. Once you come up to it, it'll ask for your conservation number, which is found on your conservation card. And then you enter your birthday, and it'll log you in, and you can also buy your permits and tags from that. And this is what it looks like once you use a tag. And then if you see any deer that have signs of CWD, which is chronic waste disease, then you need to call the conservation agents and report it and tell them where you saw the deer at so they can come out there and test the area and test the deer that's out there, because no one wants a chronic wasted deer. And those deer look mangy and they're acting really funny. Gutting it, you want to move the deer to an open piece of ground so it's easier to gut. Use your knife and cut from between the legs all the way through the sternum. And then if you shot a buck, remove its testicles and penis so that's out of the way, and it makes it easier to remove the organs. So you're going to cut the organ membrane, which is attached to the spine, cut it away from the spine, and then just pull it all out at once, and try not to rupture the intestines or spill any of the other organs in the carcass. And then rinse out the carcass with cold water. And then options, take it to get CWD tested at a local checkpoint if required. The past few years, certain counties have been required to do that. Take it to a butcher shop where they will butcher it and then sell the meat to you, or you can just share the harvest, which you'll pay a fee, and then they sell the meat to someone else, and they will also cut off the antlers if you want them to, or you can butcher it yourself, and then you can also cut off the antlers yourself, or you can take the deer to a taxidermist and they'll cut off from the neck and mount the rest of it up so it's all preserved. And then if your meat is spoiled, just leave it for the coyotes to eat. Is there any questions?
If you process the meat yourself, do you still have to tag it?
Yes, because if the conservation agent for some reason ever came out to your house to look for that deer, if it's not tagged, then they'll think it's a different deer, which will get you in trouble.
What caliber of rifle do you use?
I use a 708.
Why do you use that?
I use that because it's smaller, so it has less of a recoil, and since I'm small framed, less recoil is good, because when I get anxious, I don't need a high powered caliber rifle coming back and hitting me in the face.